So up to now I have seen uh, different concepts like data types, standard input output functions, and operators. So they are the three concepts already covered in this C for Beginners series. Even you know all these three concepts, maximum how many programs are possible to do? So if you know the data types, it's possible to declare the variables. If you know the standard input output functions, it's possible to take the input and display the output. If you know the operators, maximum it's possible to work with 2 to 3 programs. For example, accept two numbers and display sum of those two, accept two numbers, interchange, and accept two numbers, display the biggest number among two numbers by using question mark operator. Maximum 2 to 3 programs are possible, but it's not enough to work with C programming and to work with more number of programs which already are covered in a previous playlist, that is a programming, practicing, and techniques. So that you need one more concept, so that is called control flow statements. Control flow statements. Same control flow statements, you can call it as a programming constructions. Programming constructions represent how the program is going to execute. So there are three programming constructions. The first one is a sequence, and second one is a selection, and third one is the iteration. Sequence in the sense without any conditions, if the statements are executed, then it is called a sequence. Selection, based on the condition, if the execution control is changed from one place to another place, then it is called selection. For this purpose, you can use the conditional statements, if as well as the switch in case of C language or in case of other languages also, and some of the languages won't support the switch case. And next one is the iteration or repetition. Third programming construction is a iteration or repetition. Executing some set of statements number of times is called iteration or repetition. For this purpose, you can use the loops. So same thing here, you can call it as a control flow statements, represent how the program is going to execute. So the first one is the conditional statements. Conditional statements. In this case, what happened? Based on the condition, execution control is changed from one place to another place, one place to another place. For this purpose, we can use conditional statements. Conditional statements. If comma switch. Syntaxes I will explain first. If the syntax one will be like this. If you must specify the condition within the brackets. If the condition is satisfied, if you want to execute only one statement, no need of floor brackets. If you want to execute only one statement, then no need of a floor bracket. If you want to execute more than one statement, floor brackets are required. There is a block is required. If this condition is not satisfied, the control goes to else. Here you can specify the statement. That means if the condition is satisfied, If you want to execute only one statement, no need of flower brackets, also called curly brackets. Syntax 2. If you want to check with the multiple conditions, and if you want to execute the multiple statements, if this condition is satisfied, if you want to execute the multiple statements, then the curly brackets are open, that is the block is open, and after executing all the statements, the block is closed. And if you want to check with another condition, you can use the else if like this, and again you can specify the condition, and again open the block because you want to execute the multiple statements. Like this, you can specify n number of else ifs. That means you can check with the n number of conditions. If all the conditions are not matching, the control goes to else. After in this else, if you want to execute the multiple statements, you can open a block and all the statements are executed and then stop. This is the syntax for second syntax for if. And the third syntax is the nested if. Nested if means within the if you can give one more if, that is called a nested if. This condition is satisfied, so what are the statements you want to execute, and within this one more condition comes into the picture. If this condition is satisfied, what are the statements you want to execute? If this condition is not satisfied within the nested if, the control comes to else part, or again if you want to check with the multiple conditions, you can use again else if, or you go for else. Statements, and you come to the main if. If this main if condition is not satisfied, it comes to else, and these statements are executed. Even in else part also you can use if condition. So this is third syntax of if. Come to the switch. To check with the optional conditions, you can use the switch. It's not for complex conditions. The syntax for a switch will be like this. It has only one syntax. Switch. Here you can use the expression. Here expression is nothing but it may be a variable or it may be any expression. Mostly in case of C language, it's a character or integer. And here you can use the different cases. Case value. If expression equal to this value, these statements are executed. After execute the statements, to control here itself, you can use the statement break. Case value, statements, and here you can use a break. Like this, you can use any number of cases. If all the above cases are not matching, the control goes to default. And here, what are the statements you want to execute? Those statements you can specify, and followed by the break. Here, the break is optional; it's not a compulsory. And the switch is closed. Like this, you can use the two conditional statements. Here, the difference between if and switch is, in case of if, to specify the condition, you can use any relational operators as well as the logical operators. That means if you want to check with the multiple conditions, you can use the logical and or if you want to work with the greater than or less than, you can use the relational operators. Whereas in case of switch, even though you are not using any operator here, what is the meaning of this statement? If the expression equal to this value, even though you are not using any operator, by default it will take equal only. It's not possible to use the other relational operators as well as the logical operators. That is the main difference between a if and switch. That is the main difference between a if and switch. That's all about conditional statements. And the next category of a control flow statement is looping statements. Looping statements, same thing in case of programming constructions. You can call it this process as called iteration process. Iteration process. Executing to execute the set of statements. To execute the set of statements, number of times for this purpose we can use loops. For this purpose we can use loops. So C language supports different loops. The first one is a for loop, next one is a while loop, next one is a do while loop. Come to the first one, for loop syntax will be like this. The for loop has 3 arguments. All the arguments you have to specify. The first argument is the initialization. Second argument is a condition. And third argument is a change. Changing the value, that may be increment or decrement. If it is only one statement, for the loops also there is no need to use the block, that is a curly bracket. If you want to execute the multiple statements, then only you can use the open the curly bracket and close the curly brackets. This is the syntax for a for. In this case, what happened? First it will take initialization part, after that it will check with condition. This is the first step in the for loop, and the condition is verified, that is the second one. And after that this is third one, and changing the value is the fourth one. After changing the value, again the control come back to condition part. Again the condition is, until the condition is satisfied, the loop is repeated. This is for loop syntax. And come to the next one, while loop syntax. While condition, if you want to execute the multiple statements, define a block using curly bracket open and then closing. If it is only one statement, no need. And same thing, do while syntax. Do, if you want to execute the multiple statements, while condition. Here the difference between a while and do while is the pre-checking, whereas a do while is the post-checking. That means in case of while, what happened at first, it will verify the condition. If the condition is satisfied, the statements are executed until the condition is satisfied. Like this, the process is repeated. Whereas in case of do while, at least one time the statements are executed. If the condition is satisfied, then only it will repeat the process until the condition is satisfied. And come to the difference between for and while is, if there is any criteria to specify the initialization and condition and changing the value at a time, then you go for a for loop. All the iteration related programs are possible by using all the loops, but we have to decide which loop is comfortable. If there is a proper initialization and proper condition, proper incrementation or decrementation, better to go for a for loop. In case of while as well as do while, if the condition is randomly depends, then better to go for while as well as do while. That depends on the problem. Right? That's about looping statements. And the next part of a control flow statement is the unconditional statements. Unconditional statements. So here you can use a break, and the next one is the continue, and next one is the go to, and the next one is exit, and the next one is the return. Break and continue, mostly you can use an iteration process. At certain condition, if you want to terminate the iteration, you can use the break. At certain condition, to skip the iteration value, you can use the continue. For example, in case of break, suppose I try to define a loop like this. I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. Within this, I'll try to take the condition. If I equal to 5, if I equal to 5, I set that break. Otherwise, you can display the I value. To display the output in the new line, you can use a /n %d I value. So in this case, what happened? 1 less than or equal to 10, 1 equal to 5, no, 1 is displayed, 1 is incremented by 1 because of I plus plus. So 1 it becomes 2, 2 equal to 5, no, 2 is displayed. So whenever after displaying the 2, it will increment by 3, it will increment by 1 so that it becomes 3, 3 less than or equal to 10, condition true, 3 equal to 5, no, 3 is displayed, and 3 is incremented by 1, that becomes 4, 4 less than or equal to 10, no, 4 equal to 5, sorry, 4 less than or equal to 10, the condition true, after that it will check with condition now, 4 equal to 5, no, 4 is displayed, 4 is incremented by 1 because of I plus plus, it becomes 5, 5 less than or equal to 10, the condition true, 5 equal to 5, it will stop the process. So that in this case the output is, it will display output as 1. In the next line it will display 2. Next line it will display 3. And whenever it comes to 4, 4 is displayed. When it comes to 5, it will stop the process. So this is happened in case of a break. Same thing in case of continue. What happened instead of break? If you are using same for loop, instead of the output is a defer. Instead of break, if you go for continue, whenever I value comes to 5, it will skip that 5 and remaining values are displayed, so that the output will be like this. So after 4, it won't go display 5, it go for 6. After that it go for 7. After that it go for 8. After that it go for a 9. And finally it will display the output as 10. So this is happened in case of continue. And go to based on the label to change the execution control from one place to another place. You can use the go to statement. So these things I will explain with the help of programs in the coming videos. And the next one is exit. To come out from runtime permanently, you can use the exit. To return the value from user defined functions to main function, you can use the return statement. So that's all about control flow statement. Same thing you can call it as a programming constructions. Once you are perfect in this conditional statements as well as the looping statements and unconditional statements, it's possible to work with more number of programs which are already covered in a previous playlist, that is the programming practicing and techniques. Same programs you can implement in C language. I will show the same programs, some n number of programs, and the remaining programs you will try. And then if any doubts you have, just put in a comment, and or you can contact me with the mail. In any other formats you can contact.